Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Matterhorn Business Development Channel. We are back with another live stream with an amazing guest today. Really quick before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our channel sponsor, MetaPulse. Make sure you check them out for all of your growth management needs. They have everything from tracking KPIs and statistics to a place to create and store an org chart, policies for your employees, everything you need to run your business successfully. So make sure you check out MetaPulse. Now, speaking of MetaPulse and our Aussie friends, I have another Aussie friend with me today because I just love Aussies and can't get enough of them, apparently. So today with me, I have Oisín Grogan. And obviously, I'm, Americanizing the pronunciation of your name there. But Oisín is the founder of Vwork, which is an amazing hiring system that he's going to talk about. So as well as, a successful entrepreneur and mentor to business owners. So Oisín, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and Vwork.
Okay, very good. Well, my name's actually Irish, so you're Americanizing it. I'm going to Australianize it, so it's Oisín, but you've got to have an Irish accent to say it properly. It's Oisín.
Okay.
Oisín, come over here, you little, Anyway,
yeah, that's not gonna come out of my mouth.
So. No, barely mine. Anyway, so well, a bit about me. I'm also known as the $200 million business coach, and basically a little bit about my background is it's all in entrepreneurialism and also working with business owners, small, medium, and large. So I started with my own companies about 6 or 7. I still do that. I'm still involved in my own businesses. But about 15, 16 years ago, I got involved in consulting. I was very successful with solving the problems that most people have, i.e. hiring is one of them. It's a big one. And I realized back at the start, my first business was a cleaning business. And I realized, wow, if I can really master this art of getting people who are productive and, can do work for me and help my customers, well, then I'd be free. Well, that would be part of it anyway, right? If you get the right people and you get the right system and you can measure the performance of the company, well, I'd be pretty free. So I actually set about solving some of these issues so I could be free. It's not, that was really the reason. It's just so I could slack off and have fun and do whatever. Do what you want to do.
Yes, exactly. I think that's why everyone starts a business is for more freedom. In fact, I know so because that's what everyone tells me, but usually they find out very quickly that to get up to that point of freedom, there's a lot of legwork and that you have to put in first.
Yeah, certainly. And it certainly can be done. But the interesting thing, I'll get to Vwork in a sec, but the interesting thing is that most people who start a business like what they do, like they're a good plumber, they're a good consultant, they're a good something. You're good at a specific skill or service and you really love doing it. That's normally how they start, but you're not necessarily a good recruiter. No one's trained you in that. You've been trained to, build houses, but you haven't been trained to recruit. You haven't been trained to manage finances. You haven't been trained to how to, what do I even measure in my company other than the profit and loss that, the accountant gives you 3 months after the end of the tax year. That's how a lot of people seem to be measuring their year, about 15 months after the fact. So no one trained you. That's a lot of what I've been doing over the last 15 years because I love entrepreneurs and artists. They're the people who put fun and businesses and opportunities and create jobs and all sorts of things. You look at it, even the big corporations now, like someone started that. So I really love helping those people because they create so much value for everyone else.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm called the $200 million business coach because when I was looking at some rebranding, actually, I added up all the upside from where we started with companies and where we got them to, and it was over $200 million in growth.
Wow.
Yeah, we're helping them with hiring, aggressive growth, getting out of the business so they could go and do something else, whatever. It's well over 500 million now, but
So are you going to rebrand $500 million?
Nah, 200's enough. Like
it's still impressive.
Yeah, it's enough. I do have $1billioncoach.com though.
Nice. That's awesome. So now hiring is a hot topic here on this channel. Honestly, before the pandemic, I've been coaching for a few years now, and hiring was something we were talking about with our clients even before the pandemic, but especially right now in the US, we're going through or went through what has been dubbed the Great Resignation. So I meant to pull up the actual stats here, but there were some 2 to 4 million, I don't remember exactly, don't quote me, but over 1 million people who resigned from their jobs, I think, between November and December. So things might be a little bit different down in Australia. I'm not sure, but I know here in the US, I'm sensing a little panic from people in terms of hiring, not even just my clients, just what I'm seeing online. So that's what I want to talk about today. So first of all, I would love for you to explain the Vwork system and kind of this terminology that you've come up with, because it really, even just the terms that you're going to define, I think we'll have some light bulbs going off for people and being able to spot what type of employees they already have or what type of employees they want.
Yeah, sure. Well, this I developed this working with my clients and in my own companies. It's because if you want to achieve any sort of vision, you normally need people to help you, right? No one lives alone unless you want to be sitting in the corner at a keyboard or something. So it comes down to this. Why are you hiring people? Well, people have different answers, but ultimately you want someone to help you, right? You want help. You want someone to help do a job, service a client, but unburden your load if you're a small business owner. It's normally like your things are growing. So why? And I just need someone. Well, it's to help you. And what is that? What would we call that? We call it work. Every form of work in a company is helping something or someone. It should anyway, right? If it's not, we'll get to that. So the first thing we've got to start with is, what's the definition of work? Well, it's mental or physical activity which produces a result. And if you ask that question to any of your employees, I challenge anyone listening, well, what's the definition of work? You'll get so many different answers. It's hilarious. Like some people go, it's making money. Another person will go, oh, it's just what I do to get out of the house. Got to pay my bills. You get all these different answers.
It's being miserable and or all the negative negative connotations.
That's right. It's being miserable for at least 8 hours a day doing something you don't want to do. Working for some geezer, you're getting rich, right? Or something like, like there's different. There's all that, yeah. Another definition, depends which viewpoint you look at. If it's an owner, like sometimes it's swarming a chair and breathing, for
a warm body.
A warm body, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So work. So we're doing mental or physical things, right? Which in consulting you do mental, right? If you help bring clarity to a business owner on how to achieve a goal, I mean, that's super valuable, but you can move at anything really, or do any actual, physical things. So, but what results? So it's mental or physical activity in order to get a result. What result? The result's an outcome, right? But there's 3 different types of outcomes, and that's what we define in the Vwork system. Well, the first one you want, this is the one that you're looking for, is valuable work. So this is the good stuff. This is the people who do what they say. These are the people who actually lighten your load. This is the person that looks after your client, follows through. This is the person this is the type of work that you gladly pay someone for. This is the one that when you go home at night, you're not thinking about them because they're just, what they're going to do is add value. Let's face it, who doesn't want value? Like even whether talking about business, even at friends, who doesn't want valuable friends? So true. Everyone needs value. It's what makes the world go round. So that's valuable work. All right, good. So that's a valuable result. That's good. All right. So then then we drop down the scale of works from value, coming down to what I call extra work. And this is not like extra jobs. It's like extra. It's superfluous, meaning it's not necessary. So this is activities and results people produce which don't add any value and are just wasteful. So this is like if you tell someone, I need you to get that invoice out to the client, say you're the boss, and they haven't done it and you have to ask them to do it again, You've just doubled your work. That's extra work, but it's not valuable and it doesn't add to your profit.
Would this also be like the type, like there's kind of an employee that's kind of doing 20 or 30 hours of work in 40 hours a week? They find a way to kind of extend the time that it takes to do a task, and maybe they're providing valuable work, but it's taking them much longer to do so.
You got it. Yeah. Okay. So there's many shades of this, right? We could talk about this for hours, and we have systems and training on all of this, and do talk about it for hours, and how you spot this and how do you tweak it. Because one thing I should just add with the valuable work system, it's not just about hiring. What our value that we deliver is businesses growing smoothly and profitably, with like the management of the owners can actually do what they want and get into strategic matters. So we go for valuable, expanding, profitable businesses, and we do that in really two or three ways. One is hiring. You've got to get the right people in, and then two, once you've got the right people in, you've got to measure them and manage the business so it's profitable and smooth. So so it's kind of like the new people and the people you got. We deal with that. So
right.
But the first entrance to that is just the more you fill your business with valuable people, the more profitable it will get, even if you don't touch a system, because valuable people will handle things so they work well. They'll make sure they care. They take responsibility. If they make mistakes, they'll fix them. Things like this. There's a whole series of traits that we cover on how you can spot them. But let's go back to the extra work, right? So there's a ratio. You're spot on. People have a ratio of valuable work to X work, to wasteful work. We all do. Who here's got 100% value all day long?
Not me. I'll admit it.
No, not me either. But look, you might have hours or you might have days where you're damn effective and almost everything you do is just one touch, and done, value, and so on. So obviously many, many, many people in the world, and this is the first thing I think people can take away from this, that the world is full of Vwork people, actually, people who deliver value. Otherwise, the water wouldn't come out of your tap. The trash, as you say in America, wouldn't get picked up. And so on. So, the food wouldn't be delivered, and so on. So, right. That's the first thing to note. They're around, but can you get to them? Are you attracting them? So all right. So we've got valuable work. We've got extra work, wasteful work. So this is someone who maybe is loafing and they do just enough to keep their job, but get as much out of you without doing much. Yeah, that's definitely extra work. It's waste. And then we've got down the scale further. We've got destructive work, or D work. Which is literally destructive work. It is what it says. This is someone who steals your database. This is someone who, you fire them and they try and rip off your employees and start another company. Or it could be someone who tries to not do anything and just take your money. It doesn't have to be literally crime. It could be just like sowing seeds of discontent. Anyone had that, where you've got rumors going through your business?
Yep.
Ever heard? Yeah, you've heard that with your clients, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's D work. It's destructive. You're trying to get something. You've created a business. You've created jobs. You've got all these clients. Most of them are happy. And then you get something, you hire someone without knowing it, and they just poison your good stuff. It's D work. It's destructive. It's not necessarily crime. Anyway, so you've got three types of work. So you've got valuable, extra work, and then D work. There's a ratio. We don't really get into D work so much in the system. It's really just don't hire them. And when you've got to be able to spot them, isolate them, and remove them. So we mainly focus on V work and X work because most people are in that thing.
Yeah, the D work is a small percentage, but they are there. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen, is spotting them and having the guts to let them go. Because usually it's hard, those type of people also have somehow latched onto the owner and convinced them that they're completely valuable and the business will crumble without them. So it sometimes takes months of me going back and forth, because I'll never straight up tell someone, unless it's really bad, you need to fire this person. I try to like get them there on their own determination and realizations that they need to, but it can take a couple months before they really see the D work and let them go. So it is a small percentage, but you have to know what to look for and when to let those people go.
That's right. That's right. No, you're spot on. And they always do that. What you said, it's everywhere, all over the world. And by the way, this is, some people ask that the Vwork systems that apply in America, or is it just Australian? No, people are people. Valuable people are, valuable people wherever, of whatever gender or ethnicity. It's like they're just people. People are people.
Yep.
But it's always the same. You're right. It's like the most valuable person, and we couldn't possibly let them go, even though they drive us crazy. It's like, and what happens when they go is you find out all of the destruction they were doing.
Right.
That's really when you find it. I'm sure you've heard that. When we found they were doing this and they were doing that.
Or what I hear a lot is once they're gone, it's like, oh, like a weight's been lifted off of my shoulder. The whole staff is happier. It's a lighter environment. It's like a fog is lifted once that person's actually removed from the environment.
Totally. Yeah. And that's one of the things that anyone listening needs to understand is you need to know what a valuable person is, because once you start getting some and you see how different your life is as a business owner, just even when you go home, or as a manager, even if you're just managing, which, that's a leadership role. Leading, I like to say. But how difference that makes. So you've got to know that it can be done, that they do exist, and how good it is, because then you've got something to compare against. If you just think people are people and all works the same, you're going to have a lot of trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let us know in the comments if you want us to do another live where we specifically go over kind of what we're talking about here, managing your current employees, weeding out the D work or extra work in current employees. We can do a separate live on that. But today, I know the big question for people is, how do I find and attract the Vwork people? Now, what's happening here in the US again is what I'm seeing with bigger companies is huge sign-on bonuses. They're trying to even things like Dunkin' Donuts is like giving out $100 after you stay a certain amount of time. So people think the only way to get Vwork people right now is to pay more money, and obviously you should be paying fair wages, and sign on bonuses and all of these things that I know that my small business owner clients can't necessarily afford to do. So in this rough hiring market, how can people find and attract Vwork employees?
All right. Well, I'll give some tips, right? Because
it's a big question. I know.
Yeah, that's right. Well, first thing is that a lot of companies do it wrong. So a lot of that stuff isn't necessarily working right for these companies. They can do sign-on bonuses and all that sort of stuff. I don't really recommend it personally, for a reason, which is there's a trait of Vwork people. There's many traits, but one of the traits is that they like challenges. They like to deliver value, right? So you deliver value out and you return it, right? But when you're being employed, part of that return is money. It's also benefits, but also could be goodwill. It could be opportunities. There's many things you receive as a valuable employee or part of a team. But a Vwork person is really looking for a challenge. They're used to feeling good, because they're being productive. So if you put out an ad that just tells them everything that they'll get, but doesn't really tell them what they're going to do and what they've got to solve, because Vwork people like to solve problems. They like to come up with solutions, and there's a gradient scale here, like a scale of increments, we could say. Some people are amazing at that, and some people are like, do a bit of it, right? So, not everyone's an A-player superstar, right? We've got everything in between. The point is they like to do something of worth. So that's one of the things I see just totally wrong with the ads all over the world, really, to be honest. You want someone who's coming in to do the job that you need them to do, who wants to solve that problem. So if you just say you're going to get a signing bonus and you're going to get this and you get this and you get this and you get this, a Vwork person, the perfect person for that role, may not even apply. So that's the danger of saying all the benefits. Now, of course, yes, you should be paid well and there should be benefits, but that's in exchange for the value. So it's just got to be a balance.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? There's got to be a balance in the ad. And I've definitely seen that. And this happened before COVID as well. People had trouble attracting people. It's not new. It already is. We've solved it with clients. We put out ads. We can't get anyone. And we go to work on their hiring funnel. And all of a sudden, they've got plenty of people. So it's something you can control internally. You just need to know what you're doing. And you just need to know what you're doing and have decided they're out there as well. I've got to say, that's the other thing. But look, back to the benefits point. An ex-work person is more interested in themselves and what they can get. So the ratio, right? And you said it beautifully, it's ratio. So yeah, they might deliver some value, but they're more interested in what they can get out of you and your business and their conditions and blah, blah, blah. So when you put ads out that really you're talking more to an ex-work person if you talk way more about like all the bonuses and this and that. It's remarkable. And it's what most people do. And here, the other thing is companies, because they're not really trained on hiring, they just go and look at what everyone else is doing and they copy those ads. And then it's like I shouldn't say this, but it's like a virus. It just spreads. The same wrong ads just spread everywhere. And you get the wrong people applying.
Yeah, like if you're hiring for a receptionist and you just copy a bunch of other people's receptionist ads, someone looking for a receptionist job, it's going to all look the same to them. How do they know that there's an actual reason or higher purpose to be working at your company, or that it's a better fit for them? Like maybe your receptionist role has a lot more administrative tasks than someone else's, and they want to do more administrative tasks.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah, so it helps. Like Vwork people are more honest. So if they see an ad, they'll go, and you know, you've actually put in too many requirements that maybe they're not fully needed, or you haven't really spelt it out like you just said. They won't apply. They'll be honest. Whereas an expert person will just, put in an application, see if I can get the job,
Yeah.
So, so that's another point that would help people. There's a tip. We have checklists and videos covering how to do all of this and templates. But one of the things you want to do in your hiring process that'll help a lot is tell the truth. Now, there is judgment in this. There is judgment in this.
Yeah.
Tell the truth about the job. And you made me think of that, right? So if it's a receptionist role, but receptionist role in a small company is very different in a big company, right? So if you want them to do some of the books and they're going to be actually running around like cleaning up after the boss's messes because they're not very organized, you should tell them somewhere in the hiring process. You might even put it in the ad, within reason, right? This is yeah. So and you'd be surprised what happens. People turn up going, oh yeah, I get the idea of what I'm in for. Okay, cool, let's get going. Like you'd be surprised.
Some people like that I was going to say extra work. Some people like those additional tasks, or on the contrary, when I first started in the workforce, I was in treasury in my dad's company. I was literally in a windowless office by myself 8 hours a day on a computer doing numbers and whatever. And at the time, I liked that. I didn't want to talk to the clients. It freaked me out. This was when I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I wanted to be left alone in my hole. It got a little annoying sometimes. I needed some human interaction, but I liked spreadsheets and numbers and all of those things. So if you're hiring for a position where someone's going to be sitting at a desk doing what some people think is boring. Most people think that's a boring job. But those of us that are into numbers and spreadsheets get really excited about it. So just say it up front in the ad that, hey, you're going to be doing a lot of admin. You're going to be sitting at a computer with a lot of spreadsheets. You must be proficient in Excel because you're going to be in it all the time. Whereas someone else might say, oh my God, I would just die if I had a job like that. I need to be on my feet all day. I want to apply for something where I'm running around all day.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. Because how can anyone evaluate? But the beautiful thing is that everyone's different, and I'm very glad. Like, I agree, that would drive me a bit mental, like sitting doing that all day. But some people would just go, "Oh yeah, that's the job for me," just
exactly.
like, and they're in. So if you say, "Oh, it's an amazing job, and it's going to be a great and you just paint this whole thing, and then they get there and they're sitting in a box,
Yeah.
You're going to lose them. So you just wasted their time and your time. And has anyone ever worked out how much it costs you for how much bad hiring costs you?
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine.
If you really worked it out, we have calculators for this. Like you start to, the owners, the management will start having, start crying. It's so expensive. So expensive.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that's before you get sued, right? Or if you get sued on top, it gets more expensive. But look, if we talk a mid-management role, let's say it's I don't know. In Australia, the wages are higher, so like 100K is pretty normal, very normal actually. Even if it's 50 or 60K, and you hire the wrong person for 6 months, who didn't deliver the expected value, and created wasteful work and extra work that did nothing. I mean, you just on the wages alone, that's 25K. Then there's the hiring costs. Then there's the time of training them. And then there's the time of the people in their training. And if they wreck anything, it could be hundreds of thousands or at least 100,000 on one bad hire. And if they're really destructive, it's out of control. And get this, it's also the opportunity cost. So let's say that this person who's being paid 50 grand a year should deliver, say, $500,000 worth of work, valuable work. And then they only deliver 250,000. Well, that's a $250,000 loss. That's an opportunity. That's what people don't often look at.
Yeah.
It's so costly. It's just.
So I have a bit of a random but specific question, and that I wanted your take on, since we're talking about kind of the ad writing process. I see a lot of my clients in their ads, in terms of like requirements for the job, they'll say, 5 years experience doing this thing before.
Yeah.
Or must have a bachelor's degree, which I don't know if that's the same in Australia or how that.
Call it a qualification.
Yeah, it's like a basic degree, right? Now, personally, I never went to college. I'm like went to the school of hard knocks or whatever. I got my experience by working in a company through all of the departments and areas of the company, and I just happened to be a smart and capable person. So if I went and applied for a job that required a bachelor's degree, I might not get it just because I don't have a bachelor's degree. Or for example, my husband is a videographer and photographer, and he's only been doing it for maybe 2 or 3 years, but he's really good. He got really good in that time. And for some jobs, it might say 5 years minimum experience doing editing video or whatever. So I know what my take is on this. I have a feeling it's a similar take, but I kind of wanted to hear your take on, especially in the ad writing process, and just mentally maybe expanding your reach for Vwork people by maybe changing what you think you need for qualifications.
Yeah. Cool. Good question. There's a few points to this. I think I'll just answer that. Well, actually, I'll back it up. One part is probably the biggest flaw in people's hiring is that they don't know what they need. they haven't clearly worked out what they actually need.
Yeah.
I won't get into that too much, but that mistake, which requiring experience or qualifications that don't really matter,
Mm-hmm.
is really a mistake in not knowing what you're really looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, answer me this: if I can give you someone who's a valuable work person, so most of the time they're producing value, do you think you could train them to do what you want?
Yeah, because part of being valuable is that they can take the training and run with it.
Yeah. So experience is a bit overrated, right? It depends what sort of experience. That's really my question. What experience is it? Right. Because if you have a D work person, destructive work person, they might have 10 years experience ruining stuff with that bachelor's degree.
Right.
Do you want that experience? In fact, they're really good at it. They've been working at it for a while here, the whole decade,
Yeah.
And the same with I was dealing with an accountant in Australia actually, and he was looking. He had, there are some qualifications you got to have, right?
For sure.
So take that out of the equation, right? If you're going to be doing surgery, I want a qualified surgeon because that's jumping into things. But apart from that, yes, experience is not as important as the ability to produce valuable results. That is more what you need to be interested in. So every time you add a requirement into an ad that really isn't necessarily 100% fully needed, you're potentially cutting out applicants who are Vworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So do you really need 5 years experience, or do you just really need someone who can do it?
Right.
And who wants to do it? I want to throw in another point about Vwork people. They're willing. They're willing. They're willing to work. They're willing to help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for anyone listening, think of the terrible employee you had. How willing were they? You'd ask them to do something. What did you get? Oh, a problem? Yeah, sure. And then they never did it. So you can check for these things. So these things are more important than actually how trained some people are. But, this is the thing. Everyone wants a ready-made salesperson or a ready-made accounts director or a ready-made whatever. That'll lead you to a lot of trouble. You'll pay more. You won't necessarily get a Vwork person. You'll get a highly qualified person who'll just cause you trouble or not deliver what was promised.
I see that a lot in sales where people think they need to hire some like hotshot salesperson who demands like a super high salary or commission. But then, here at Matterhorn, we have sales training to actually properly train someone in sales. But, this hotshot salesperson comes in and doesn't actually deliver. Whereas you had, an entry-level person who's actually very much a Vwork person that just needs some extra sales training in the way you want them to be selling your product or service. And you could have just promoted them rather than the headache of this hotshot person coming in.
That's right. And anything you can do to put yourself more in the proactive, your whole business, every place that you're more proactive, you'll be more profitable and more effective and you'll grow and you'll be less subject to the conditions,
Right.
Like the current market, courtesy of whatever, various governments around the world have been doing, they've there's certainly upheaval in not just in the US, in other places. It's a bit different in Australia, but there's certainly an upheaval. Things have changed and there are definitely shortages and things like this, but there's still 7 billion people on the planet the last time I checked. So they must be somewhere. They must be doing something. And there's billions of Vwork people around. So the question is, do you know who you're looking for and where to find them? So.
Right. Okay, awesome. So I kind of derailed us with our question, but I had an ulterior motive because I have to have that talk with a lot of people. So I wanted to hear it from your mouth and not just mine. But then were there any other tips that you wanted to add in from what you've already gone over? I don't want to cut out what you were already planning on covering.
I actually was just here to answer your questions. Didn't even know what you were going to ask me, really. But,
yeah, we do this on the fly. I knew you could handle it, though.
That's right. Yeah, it's more tips. Really look at what I think this would be a good tip is, what is your ideal candidate? You know, it's hard to go and buy a car if you don't know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you've probably experienced this. You start thinking, oh, I'm going to buy a, you know, an Audi or whatever you call it, or a Volvo or whatever, or whatever your cool car is, right? Volvo is probably not very cool, but there's a whole thing against Volvo drivers in Australia. I don't know if you've got it here, but
no.
Yeah, like, you know, I owned one once, right? And I'd be driving down the road over the speed limit. Like, I confess, I was maybe 10 over the speed. Mm-hmm. And someone would still come up behind me and honk the horn because I was in a Volvo, you know? It's just
my gosh.
It's just assumed that I'd be an old dude, you know, with a golfing hat and driving slow, you know, even though I wasn't.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, which actually, you know, so when you start looking for a particular type of car, you notice how you start to see them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so this is like a real obvious one, but most people miss it, is if you think there's no one out there, you won't see anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know what you're looking for, you'll start to see them. You'll be down the bank and you'll be dealing with a teller or something, and well, that's a Vwork person. That would be actually, that would be the sort of person we need.
Yep.
You see? So that would be a big tip. And we have a whole process for this, but you can just do it yourself. Just really work out what you need.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a really simple example of one of our clients from about 3 days ago. They do service technicians. They're nationwide, about 7 states, really in about 7 or 8 states, 7 I think in Australia. Anyway, technicians. And one of them is like in a control room sitting there. They do security, right? So not monitoring. But the other side is installing. And we were going through this process, and it was like, you've got to like driving around to do this job. Like, if you don't like driving around, they're going to hate it. Even if they're Vwork, they're going to hate it. So we were going through this, and he's like, oh, we've never put that in our ad. So they get people applying who then don't do it or hate it or then leave. You know, like, he didn't know really what he was looking for precisely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's you could run with that. So if you know you're looking for a Volvo estate, you know, you can start seeing estates or an estate car in general, right? You could, or an SUV or whatever. So you know where to look and what brands and so on and so forth. So there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, great. Well, I think this has been very valuable, of course. I would expect nothing less. But please leave us a comment. Let us know if you have more questions about this. We can totally do another live stream on this topic, or like I said, more about managing the people you have once you get them and hire them. And then I highly recommend checking out the Vwork system. You can go to vworkteam.com. But Oisín, you can say a little bit about what you guys do over at Vwork and your offering there.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So it's all about the people, which you've probably worked it out. So there's 2 sides, like I said. There's the managing the team you've got. So I'm not going to talk about that. So I'll talk about the hiring, which is the whole entry level. It's the entry gate into your company. Like, if you just get your hiring better from some of the tips, and even better than what we've said today, imagine your hiring got 50% better, and from here on out it was 50% better, and most of the time you're putting Vwork people into your company. Over time, the Vwork ratio of your company would increase. Like, imagine if 9 out of 10 in your company just delivered value. I mean, how good would it be? You can have some time off. You could expand. You could get more strategic. You could get out of the day-to-day, you know, in the trenches, you know, and get more onto the bigger picture. So that's really why what you can get done if you can hire properly. So there's a few ways we do it. we have an online hiring academy, which has everything, about 25 downloads and checklists, anything you name it, we've got it covered, and short, very on-point videos all about the specific questions, from even how to write titles for hiring ads that pull. So down to what you put in the ad, what questions to ask in the interviews, how to cut through the mask, you know, that everyone puts on when they go to hiring interview. How to cut, because people. Anyway, I'm getting into the education piece. It can be hard to tell, right? Appearances can be deceiving, and people have biases as well. So you need an actual system and the traits to look through what questions you ask. Even then, when do you let someone go or not? How do you onboard them? We cover all that. There's two ways. You can do it yourself. It's very cost effective compared to the cost of getting it wrong. Or we have an 8-week program where we guide you through the whole hiring funnel. So getting clarity on who you want, and then how we build the funnel to attract and then select the people that we actually want that fit your company, fit the role, and as a Vwork person. And so like 1 week we'll cover the ads, and we'll help you, and you write the ad. Then the next week we've got some applicants. Now we've got to assess the resumes or the CVs. So we go through that. So over 8 weeks we build you a funnel, and a working funnel. It'll attract you Vwork people for that specific role. So there you go. That's if you're interested, you can contact us at contact@vworkteam.com, or just go to the website vworkteam.com.
Awesome. Yes, I can definitely vouch for the Vwork system. It is extensive and amazing, and I'm so grateful that you were on today. Thank you, Oisín. I hope we can do some more of these to help people out. And of course, if you're watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you don't miss out on future live streams and future videos. And I will see you next time.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks for having me.